Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Michaela Kerrison, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Sergeant Kitson Harcher. We are honoured to acknowledge the Vice President of French Polynesia, Manari Chantal Galnon Taupua, and the accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Shenton College, Shenton Park, Western Australia. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Cosby Kennedy Snodgrass. Cosby Snodgrass was born in 1886 in Lismore, New South Wales, one of 10 children born to John Robert Snodgrass, a farmer, and his wife, Eleanor. Cosby grew up around the Northern Rivers, where his father owned a large property. He was educated locally and later moved to the town of Curran, where he operated a banana plantation. He was there when the First World War broke out in 1914. Snodgrass enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 16th of January 1916. He was assigned to the 11th Reinforcements of the 26th Battalion with the rank of private. At the end of March, Private Snodgrass embarked for active service, sailing from Brisbane on board the troop ship Star of Victoria. He travelled via Egypt to Marseille in the south of France. From there, he was immediately sent north to join his unit. After some time in hospital with tonsillitis, he was able to join the rest of the 26th Battalion, which had been embroiled in bitter fighting around the village of Pozières. Just one day after joining his unit, it made an attack on the heights above the village. Despite encountering heavy resistance from enemy lines, they managed to push forward and dig in. The next morning, however, the enemy infiltrated the 26th right flank and Snodgrass was wounded in his right arm. He was evacuated by field ambulance and taken to the 44th Casualty Clearing Station for treatment. His wounds were severe enough that he was unable to rejoin his unit until the end of September 1916, returning to the front just in time to spend a bitterly cold winter in the trenches. In early 1917, German forces began making a strategic withdrawal to the fortified Hindenburg Line. Their retreat was eagerly followed by Allied units who seized their opportunity to push the enemy back. In advancing on the Germans, these units were confronted by well-prepared rearguard defences and booby-trapped towns, which resulted in a series of bloody clashes. Private Snodgrass's unit was caught in one of these attacks at the village of Lagnicourt in April 1917. Allied lines around Lagnicourt had been significantly weakened due to the British offensive farther north at Arras. Important resources had been drawn away from this sector, leaving the few remaining Allied units vulnerable to attack. Sensing a swift and easy victory, 23 German battalions attacked Lagnicourt at dawn on the 15th of April 1917. With overwhelming numbers, they quickly swept through the town and captured several batteries of the Australian artillery. Private Snodgrass's unit was one of just 4 Australian battalions attempting to repel this overwhelming enemy force, almost 5 times as strong. The Australians eventually pushed the enemy back and recaptured the village after several hours of costly fighting. Less than 2 weeks later, Snodgrass's unit was again drawn into battle when the Allies mounted a second attack on the village of Bullecourt. In the enemy's new front line, an attack on the village the month before had been absolute carnage. Under heavy machine gun and artillery fire, and without the expected support of tanks, Australian units had suffered over 3,000 casualties in one day. Under cover of the Allied barrage, the second attack began at 3:45 a.m. on the 3rd of May. Members of the 5th Brigade headed towards the enemy trenches. The enemy opened their own artillery barrage, causing many casualties and forcing the Australians back from their objectives, which it took the Allies more than a week of fighting to achieve. But this came at the cost of a further 7,000 casualties. Among the dead was Private Cosby Snodgrass. His remains were never found, and today he is commemorated on the Australian Memorial at Villers-Bretonneux. His family paid tribute to him with a poem placed in the Northern Star newspaper. It read, one of Australia's gallant sons, stalwart of limb and true of heart. Mid clash of battle and roar of guns, bravely he played a soldier's part. Through such shall a nation's greatness rise on the stepping stones of their sacrifice. Private Cosby Snodgrass was 31 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his name listed on the Villers-Bretonneux Memorial is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Cosby Kennedy Snodgrass, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff, and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.